My mom got diagnosed with a rare form of a mixed lymphoma. That was when I was in 7th grade. And cancer never ran through our family. I never knew about sickness. I don't know. I think I was 13 years old and I didn't know what cancer meant until she told me one night after training, and I was really scared for her. She was a single mother of 4 kids. I was like, what does that look like? And I know cancer is expensive, and she was the only one providing for us, and it didn't really hit me for how bad it was until at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. she'd be throwing up from the chemo or the meds, and then she would have to go and work and talk to people all day. She's my biggest hero. She would never complain. I always had a smile on her face, but I was the youngest of 4 by far. I was the accident of the family. So it was just me and her in the house for a while, and I had just broken my leg, so I couldn't do much at the time. My sister took a semester off of Vanderbilt and came in and helped my mom go to cancer treatments, all the doctor's appointments, but she never wanted to make my life any different, so she was good at pretending to be fine, still carpooling me to training. One story when I was young is she was speeding because I was going to be late to my soccer training because I was also in basketball and volleyball. And my club coach hated that I did other sports and was like, if you aren't at training in time, you're going to be in trouble. And she was like, well, she still loves basketball, so she's going to do both. And she was speeding on the highway. And at this moment, she doesn't have any hair. She has a bandana on and a port for the chemo. And so we get pulled over and she goes, watch this, Paige. She pulls out her tubes, takes her bandana off, and she goes, I'm so sorry, officer. We're just rushing to my chemo treatment. It was 8 p.m. I don't know. And I couldn't hold my laughter, but just the way I saw her navigate cancer, fight it with both hands, both legs, her entire self, and still be this incredible mom that was super positive was life-changing for me. And then 5 years pass after she beat it the first time. She had an auto stem cell transplant. She became cancer-free. So how old was I then? I think I was 20. And my brother just had a wedding with him and his wife now. And 2 months go by and she goes, I'm going to Chicago for a work trip. And I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And she knew at the time at the wedding that it had come back more aggressive and the cancer changed a little. It was even more rare. I didn't know that at the time, and she was a blast at the wedding. She always had a smile on her face. And then she was like, yeah, you go back to school, whatever. She never wanted it to impact my life at all. When I was waitressing one night, I was trying to help pay for school. I had 40 missed calls and text messages like, when are you gonna be home, from my sister, Sierra. I go, something's wrong. I was walking home in a dark alley at night. That walk turned into a sprint for multiple reasons. I get to my college house and then all of my friends were in my room. I knew immediately what was going on. I broke down that, oh no. Probably that was the change of my life. The next year and a half would be the hardest part of my life. But again, she was such an all-star and a warrior that me and my siblings thought it's no big deal, she was gonna fight it. She did this entire chemo treatment again, and then she was gonna get stem cells from one of her twin brothers. They were both perfect matches. So she had to go to Seattle. That was the toughest time for me. I was a junior in college at North Carolina, and I just had finished a semester. I was like, what should I do? Should I come home and help? And my siblings, my entire family stepped up, and then I was able to go to Seattle to visit my mom May 3rd-ish after my semester. She passed June 2nd, so I was there for a month. Yeah, it was the saddest, hardest part of my life. Cancer and or death teaches you everything about life. I think you enjoy the small things a lot more. Just her attitude about everything, having a positive attitude, even with no hair and 4 kids to take care of and a job, she would, if there's a fun song in the mall, she would drop her bags, take me, and start dancing around in the mall. And she wouldn't even look at like people around, like, what are you doing? She had so much joy throughout every moment of life, and I definitely carry that with me for sure. Yeah, it wasn't until she passed, and then I had to go through those stages of grief, that I fully understood how beautiful life is, but how short it is. We're all not promised tomorrow. You got to really look at every day like it's a blessing. And I hope I do that now, and I hope I can bring that wisdom to my peers now. But at the time, I felt super isolated and a bit lonely in that. And the only people I could connect to were like 70-year-olds. Someone told me one day that I was too serious, which is weird because everyone knows that I'm a really fun, like I laugh a lot, but I also understand a lot of life that maybe a lot of people don't get to understand, which I don't want them to necessarily, but I do think like melancholy, one of my favorite books that brought me through this time was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust. And he talks about the more darkness you see, the more light and joy you actually feel. And I think that's what my mom had to endure. You know, she left an abusive relationship in a very small town with 3 kids. I wasn't born yet. In the middle of the night, she packed 3 mattresses on her station wagon and begged for a house on welfare in Lincoln, Nebraska. They said no at first, and she stayed there for 3 nights in a row with the kids in the car, my siblings. And she was, yeah, she just knew how to survive and knew what it took to see the light. And she went through some really dark times. So nothing I ever did was as dark or the survival mode she's ever had to go through. I'm really blessed to have my perspective on life. I traveled overseas for 4 years, been in a lot of crazy situations, probably near-death situations, but I'm like, it's okay, like tomorrow will come. And yeah, she's just taught me like to enjoy every moment. I'll go to my tattoo. So it's a fallen rose, meaning that life is beautiful but short, and it has the quote, "Dare greatly." So it's the Man in the Arena quote by Teddy Roosevelt, saying you should be in the arena, you should be fighting for everything. It's your life, and all the critics on the outside have no say because they're not actually in the arena. I think people should live their lives as they want because it's short. Take risks, because especially the people that I'm around, the risks don't seem as risky as it once was in my family or the risks that she took. And when you wake up in the morning and you drink your cup of coffee, to really enjoy that moment. And it's really hard in 2025. There's phones, there's news, there's, social media to kids these days are crazy. People are comparing. And I'm like, that all doesn't matter. Like, what matters is your happiness, doing what you love. I'll give you an example. After college, I got offered all 3 desks at my internship. The year I lost my mom, I went to New York City and worked for Bank of America. I took the job, but I had a good senior year at college. Even after losing my mom, me and my brother and my siblings put all of our energy into work. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I had an opportunity to play professional soccer. Went to Germany and then got drafted, and the salaries at the time was an unguaranteed $5,000 contract. Being drafted didn't mean you got signed. My coach, some people were like, no, take the job. You know, you're in debt. I walked on to North Carolina. But then my coach, Ann Dorrance, called me later and was like, I know I said that, but I want you, because he met my mom and he adored my mom. Everyone adored my mom. He was like, what would Kathy do? So every decision, everything I've ever done, I asked myself that, and I took the unguaranteed $5,000 contract over my 6-figure guaranteed job. And I've been doing what I love to do for the last 10 years. I traveled the world, learned different languages, and yeah, I would never look back. I think a lot of people are scared to take risks, to do something maybe that their parents might not want them to do, what maybe isn't the most popular decision. But deep down in your heart, you always have a desire or you think you can impact people around you in a certain way. One thing that my mom's cancer and death impacted my sister on is my sister went to Vanderbilt, one of the highest in her class. She was the smartest person ever, went to business school. After she saw my mom go through that, she was like, nah, screw all of this school I've ever done. She packed up, went to LA, and learned a lot about health and wellness. She's taught me a lot of things. I got big into health and wellness, and I think it's so important now. It wasn't really talked about it back then with cancer, eating, diet, exercise, whatever. And now, obviously, it's talked about a lot. But we both started to do screenings of maybe what our genetics say, if we're more prone to Alzheimer's, if we are more prone to high blood pressure, if we do have cancer that runs in the family. We both have been super proactive about it, and I think it's super important because my mom did get a cancer screening, and it was really late, stage 4, and she probably could have prevented a lot of her treatments being so insane. And women especially, I don't know the statistic on breast cancer, but breast cancer is super prevalent in men too, but mostly women. It's super easy to do, to just get screenings, and I know it's scary, but the best thing you can do is to know exactly what you can do about your own health. That's not just cancer, that's anything, cholesterol, high blood pressure, whatever. You should know that medicine's amazing out there. Treatments have become way better, like the science and everything. And so it shouldn't be as scary as long as you're proactive about it. I think it's super important.